because you had the two family structure. You had the balance. You had the mama saying one thing, you had the daddy saying another, and it was a balance. Okay, and then once those bills start passing about, integration, civil rights, things of that nature, I think they meant well to a degree, but I don't really think that helped as far as the family structure, because you think about it, we had to have each other. We had to depend on each other. There was a need and a necessity and a sense of community all around. So if little Vincent was out there doing something bad, somebody was going to let somebody that little Vincent know, mom, dad, or whatever, hey, he had to cutting up.
Right, that's true. So, like you say, bro, you had the mother, the father, and then you had the community, which was the reinforcement.
It was an accountability. It was an accountability.
Exactly.
And everybody welcomed that accountability. Everybody welcomed that responsibility to make sure that we had a role in that child turning out great. The community came together and made sure that child turned out great, and it was all love. Then the separation happened. Then the other options happened. I honestly think loyalty is only good as your option. You're only loyal as good as your options. So once our options got more, our loyalty became less and less.
Exactly, bro.
To one another, because we stopped seeing one another. We stopped seeing it as a responsibility. And as you say, those same OGs or those cats that were supposed to be teaching you, hey, bro, this ain't the way to go, they was out there guiding you how to do it. So the culpability goes levels. Like you said, it's levels to this. It's levels to the culpability. So it's going to be levels to the results. It's going to be level to how can we get these young men from going through this system that's going to eat them alive.
And you right, bro. And then, at that particular time in the 60s, like I say, in black communities, we was together and unified like that because we knew at that particular time we had one common enemy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Now, things are so diverse, you don't know who the enemy is no more. And then they distract us, with the cars, the jewelry, the houses. Some rise above their conditions and move out like most of them do. They rise above the condition. They move out the neighborhood because, I'm a firm believer that if you do rise above that condition and you move out, you can't afford to stay there because, at that particular time, you're going to become a target. But once you move out, you're really not bringing change back to the neighborhood. So
that's called the talented 10th. The talented 10th. I read that in the book as well. That 1/10 makes it out. And then that talent goes away and intermingles with other talent and other options and other races, whatever. So those blacks in the projects, they're bad people. So then you start viewing yourself a level above those people, and you don't see them as your people. So your sense of responsibility and accountability for those people is basically zero. They got to get out just like I did. Exactly.
And brother, it's ironic. Me and Brandon, we was having this conversation. And we was talking about, this crab in a bucket thing that, we always talk about as black people. It's like black people like crabs in a bucket. Every time one try to pull out, somebody else trying to pull them down. We always say that. But the thing about it is, the first we don't never really ask the question of like, who put us in the bucket in the first place? You know what I mean? Because crabs, that's not their habitat.
They don't, not no bucket.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? So if somebody puts them in a bucket, they are standing over the bucket. So what's the probability that something is still right there and allowing that crab to come out the bucket? You know what I mean?
You're right. So, they're in the bucket for a reason.
A lot of this stuff, it's so instilled and entrenched, man, because it took years to get us in this situation. And most of us think that this situation is normal, like this is normal behavior, but this is not normal behavior, And for those that actually know, like I said, when I went to prison, I did not know between 1986 and 1992 that Texas had constructed over 100 prisons, and we went down there and filled every one of them up.
Yes,
that comes from power, that comes from government. They were plotting while we were sleeping.
Right.
And that leads me to say, man, you had this conversation where you got brothers that, they'll go work 12, 13 hours on these corporate plantations, and when they come home, all they want to do is flip the remote. Well, you're not going to change what's outside your door. And when you get in off your corporate plantation and you just go in a house when there's still chaos out there in front of your door, you got to put in work right there too.
There's work to do.
There's work to do.
There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do.
We have to be vocal. We got to be diligent. We gotta pull together all resources. Like I said, me and you had this conversation. We can go get a car loan, they'll give it to us. If we need a house loan, they'll probably give it to us. But if we go in there and try to get a $50,000 or a $100,000 small business loan, they're gonna figure out a way to deny you because they understand that if we allow them to plug into our resources, we can move forward. You know what I mean?
Yes,
but
sir.
We got a point where, what you're doing, me and Brandon, brothers out here actually trying to make a change. We understand what we have to do. We have to come together and be that force. But we ain't got to ask anymore. We got to start doing it for ourselves, and that's what we trying to convey.
I'm tired of asking. I'm not asking. I'm tired of asking because again, we're still asking the same questions in 2016. So something fell off. Something didn't work, and so. And here's another thing that I was thinking, and in reference to talking to the youth and stuff, and I said before, a lot of them are angry and upset and saying, okay, they don't really feel like they matter, right? So when you see the case that just happened in New Orleans where the white guy shot the running back McKnight, right? And then they let him go, but then they arrested him again. Okay, and then you see where the police officer got off, I think, for shooting the guy in the back. Right, they would think it was a hung jury, or it didn't go. He didn't go to. He's out. He's out now. He's out now. And you had the one jury that had an issue. So when you see these disparities with the system, and you can go down the line and say, okay, the number of cops that have been convicted of shooting unarmed African Americans is a small number. It's a very small number. So when you talk to the youth and say, well, you just vote. Hey, well, you just be patient. Well, you just pray and everything gonna be all right. Well, you gotta just trust and believe. If the optics show you something totally different, how can you continue, I guess, with that message to the youngster? They're like, yeah, I feel you, because things do look like they're turning around. How do you keep them motivated?
I always try to convey, bro, to these youngsters out here that, you go back in the time of slavery, bro. These are not just isolated incidents. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
These are not just isolated incidents where you'll pop on the news and some brother got shot down in the back by police and he was unarmed. They've been doing this for a long time, bro. They've been doing this in slavery. They do that to keep us in check, bro. They do that to keep us in check.
You're definitely right. You're definitely right about that.
It's the same, different tactics, same motive. Yes. We have to keep these niggers in line, And if we got to shoot one of them 50 times in broad daylight on national TV to keep them in line,
we're going to show you. We're going to show you. And you know what, though? And that's a great point, bro. That's a great point. Because you know what? Think about it. How much of this revved up after Obama got elected? Yeah, y'all got y'all black president, but we finna show y'all some.
Exactly.
And
nothing. They're still going to keep us in check.
Nothing was done. Nothing was done. They did it. It revved up, and absolutely nothing was done, and barely anything was said.
Yep. And they don't even talk about it no more. You know what I mean?
They don't talk about it. They don't talk about it until the next one come through. But again, okay, then you'll march, you'll protest, you'll get mad, you'll get angry, you'll tear up your community because they're not finna let you go down the street and tear up their stuff. All right? So you go through your motions, you go through all this, but at the same time, no amount of laws or regulation or voting will regulate the human heart, will regulate the heart of man or the heart of woman. You can pass every law in the world, but ain't no law going to get out there and say, well, you know what? Because of XYZ law, I'm not going to not treat you like a human being. I'm not going to shoot you. I'm not going to do you dirty because of this particular law. You can't regulate the heart of man with a law. And that's the problem, is that a lot of times we're not being viewed as humans. We're not being viewed as people. We're best being viewed as criminals. Because when you go in there, whether your first time in jail or your 15th time in jail, they're going to fingerprint you just like they fingerprint everybody else. They're going to treat you just like everybody else. You all on the same level.
And you're exactly right, bro. And that's why I always try to tell brothers, man, and these sisters out here, like, you got to know who for you and who against you. You know what I mean? Like we go to, like when we talk about me and Brandon was talking about the gang banging thing. Here you got Bloods, Crips, all these different gangs.
Yes, sir.
That, these brothers say they reach, go up in ranks to the point to where they chiefs and captains. You know what I mean? And it's like you out here, you spilling the blood of one another, right? You call yourself bosses. But in the consequences, you'll find yourself being a cellmate with somebody that you've been at war with. So that lets you know right there that you hold no power. You know, like, how do you end up having an enemy, you know, that look just like you? They look just like you, but you fighting over a street that is not yours. And when it's all said and done, the powers that be will lock both of y'all up and put y'all on the same cell block, bro.
End of the day, we hear it, right? This my block.
Exactly.
This my corner. Let me see a piece of real estate. Let me see the title for that property. Let me see that. If you own this block, it should be in your name, right? But now the cat that own this store, the cat that own this stuff, they don't even own the block. They renting the property. You don't even see the cat that own the block.
Exactly, bro.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right, bro. And these are things that we have to be vocal about. These are things that's got to be every day. You have to put it out there. You have to show it to them. And another thing point that I would like to raise is that you got a lot of these brothers that's going to prison. They going to prison. Some of them getting out, right?
Yes, sir.
Like, what type of systems do we have set up for these brothers and sisters, man, that's getting out of prison?
Transition.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Exactly. Yeah. So we
said that. You're right, man. But here's the deal. Do they give you guys like a list of companies that's hiring? Because I talked to a guy, some correction officers, right? And they were saying that, well, they give them like a list of companies that's hiring when they get out to assist them on their way. Do they really do that?
Bro, they have it. They have it. But here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's case by case basis. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
You might have some companies that might actually hire an ex-convict with a drug record. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
But that same company might not hire anybody with an assault record.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Duly noted. Yeah.
So, and that's the difference. It's kind of like a case by case. It's a case by case a deal they have. And like I say, but that's why that's what we need to put in place. So like I said, a lot of these brothers are getting out. A lot of these brothers are getting out, man. A lot of these brothers are going down there and actually rehabilitating and reforming themselves, bro. And when they get out here, some of them got the greatest potential. Get out here, and they're not being embraced. You know what I mean? They don't have nothing. They don't have nothing, man. I got brothers coming home right now, bro. That don't did 20 years. These brothers in their early 40s, 41, 42, just did like 2 decades in prison. They give them brothers $50, man.
Yeah.
Like $50, bro. You know?
You
and these brothers coming home to families that ain't really got them because they didn't have anything before they left.
Yes, sir.
So you coming home to the same thing. Like, we need to start putting something in place for these brothers that's getting out, as well as being vocal and being out here in these streets, man, because that's where it starts at.
Straight from the streets. Straight from the streets. You know, we're going to discuss that. We're going to talk about that, man. We're going to talk about planning something like that, though, man. And we got to figure out a way to like get an itinerary, maybe, or a list and a spot there where we can just continue to send donations to, and not just us and anybody else willing. And then it goes to this particular spot, and then they can pick out what they want. You know what I mean? We'll iron out the details, man. But I like that idea. Oh,
no, we have to do that, bro. Like I said, as well as those that's getting out, we got to try to protect them brothers and have something set up for them, man.
So they don't go back.
And also try to prevent these youngsters from going, because it's so easy now to go to prison, bro. They giving these brothers probation and they give for anything. You know what I mean? They put them on pre-trial releases for 5 and 6 years before the court is before they even found guilty. Man, these brothers are already reporting, paying fees, taking UAs. It's like, why do you have to do all that? When it's all an allegation at that point in time. You haven't been found guilty, but you have to report, you have to pay fees, all of this, bro. You know what I mean? And like I said, for those that know, they're not doing anything about it. So for us that do know, we got to become more vocal, man, and out here in these trenches. We can't be afraid of our own people no more. We already know the government, and they're not going to do anything for us. It's just like you said, all the protests, the screaming, the shouting, that ain't getting us nowhere.
How's that work so far? How's that work so far, man?
They haven't. You know, just like with this last election, bro, it's kind of crazy that, that electoral college actually got exposed. Because a lot of people didn't know what electoral college stemmed from. But it was designed for the slave states. You know what I mean?